Right then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, welcome along for the pre-match live stream for match day number 5. And you can't even see my hand because it's covered by the match day squad graphic. Match day number 5 in the Europa League. It's Feyenoord against Celtic live tonight in Rotterdam, Netherlands. We take on a side who we've been quite familiar with over these last couple of years, but in a completely different environment, a completely different side, a new manager, the whole shebang. And it's kind of like a last-ditch attempt for Celtic to get anything in this Europa League. Win tonight, you move up to 7 points, and you've got a fighting chance. Technically got a fighting chance of qualifying for the next round. Lose tonight, and that's it. It's curtains, basically. It quite factually is curtains, I think, at that point, because we have 3 tough games after tonight. We'll come on to that. We've got to talk about Feyenoord first. Welcome into the live stream. If you haven't already, please make sure go down below, hit like, hit subscribe. As I've already seen in the chat, I think we're all a bit surprised by Martin O'Neill's starting 11 tonight. It's not a starting 11 I was expecting, and Adam might be right in the chat when he says I think that Martin knows his stint is coming to an end and he's just going out with a bang. Well, it's certainly a different looking starting 11 for Celtic tonight against Feyenoord. Obviously just not great at all, and that's not Martin O'Neill's fault first and foremost. I think it's clear, I've got to make it clear right now, it's not Martin O'Neill's fault that this is the starting 11 he's been forced to play. Even when I look on the bench this evening, which does have the returns of does have the return of Kelechi Iheanacho, it doesn't have the return of Marcelo Sarachi, but even with someone back, I look at this squad and I just think it's fucking rotten anyway. So that's where we are as a club. It is the squad that Wilfred Nancy will inevitably have to take over starting December 1st or whenever his first day in the job is. I don't think anybody really knows in terms of shape and who's playing where right now. I've just put it into this right now for you. That's not to say that it's definitely Luke McCowan playing up front this evening. If anything, I think McCowan might actually be over on the right hand side or the left hand side like he was when he played against St Mirren at the weekend. Let's run through the starting 11, shall we, that has everybody up in arms. Thank you to Bean McCann, by the way, for membership for over 14 months in the Cube in Rotterdam now, Ryan. Couldn't get tickets, so the bar will have to do. It's a gutter. It was always going to be a tough one to get tickets for, but enjoy yourself. And do you know what? If it's anything like Denmark, you'll be thankful that you weren't in the ground. Trust me, Beam. Trust me. I hope you enjoy yourself. Be safe. Have a good time in Rotterdam, mate. The Celtic starting 11 tonight is Kasper Schmeichel, Colby Donovan, Austin Trusty, Liam Scales, Kieran Tierney. Midfield 3 of Callum McGregor, Engels and Rio Hatate. And a front 3 of Yang, Maeda and Luke McCowan. It's up to you and your own interpretation as to where you think each player will play in that front 3 this evening. What I will say to it is there'll be a lot of changing throughout the game. At one point you'll see Maeda on the right, he'll be then on the left, he'll then be through the middle. We'll see the old Lenny flip the wingers plenty of times through this game, I'd imagine. I don't think that there's a set plan for any of those 3 to play in the same set position over 90 minutes. I mean, eventually you're probably going to see Iheanacho coming on, eventually you're probably going to see Balak Wisha or Nygren coming on. It's really just go with the flow at this point at Celtic until we maybe get our new manager in and we see a change of system. This is the squad we've got at the minute. So just to clarify, that is the starting 11 on screen. If you're wondering what the bench is for Celtic this evening, and don't worry, we'll get into questions and answers, that's the whole point in these pre-match live streams. The substitutions for Celtic tonight: Vinicius Salo, Ross Doohan, Benji Nygren, Balak Wisha, Iheanacho, Seb Tanetke, Johnny Kenny, Paulo Bernardo, Dane Murray, Ralston, Hale and Isiguzo. So we have a couple of the B team fellas coming up, and Hale and Isiguzo, who make up Celtic's bench tonight, once again just exposing the lack of quality we have in us. That's not a slight on young Hale and Isiguzo, who are probably ecstatic to be involved in a European matchday squad tonight, but I think that you know, the amount of injuries we have and the lack of forward planning we done in the summer is now showing itself bare bum, to be quite honest. I think it's all there for everybody to see. And yeah, I wasn't feeling particularly confident about this game in the first place. If you watched my match reaction yesterday, I don't like being pessimistic or negative, but I said as soon as the game finished in Denmark, as soon as we went 3-0 down in Denmark, I said our European campaign is over. And I still think it is over. I don't have any hope of us getting a result tonight. Does that mean that the team should give up? Absolutely not. Does it mean that Martin O'Neill should give up? Absolutely not. If we get a result tonight, I'll be absolutely buzzing. I'll be doing the match reaction with my fucking scants in the air, you know, I'll be buzzing about it. But I'm not holding my breath, and this squad does not fill me, this starting 11 does not fill me with an awful lot of confidence heading into the game. Remember, kickoff is at 5:45pm. We'll be live until around 5:15 tonight, answering your questions and talking about the game. First of all, big shout outs to Chris and Ranny's Rovers for channel membership loyalty. Chris saying, I don't buy into if we lose tonight, it's done. Teams can go through with 10 points, so I think we need to try to be more positive, as hard as that is at the minute. I mean, I get that. In any other year, I would subscribe to that notion, Chris. But it's not anything about, you know, being pessimistic or negative for me. It's just the brutal honesty of looking at the next 3 games and understanding they're very, very difficult. Roma, probably going to scud us. Bologna away from home, not going to be easy. The only one in there you kind of fancy yourself is Utrecht. And the fact we've got a new manager in who's got to change the system, and, you know, we only get to improve this squad for match days 7 and 8. So I get that. I understand that. Technically, we can still go through, but with the games that follow up and with the current quality of this squad, I think it's pretty understandable why many Celtic fans are feeling down and out about it. But hey, listen, I admire your optimism. I'm not taking that away from you. Ranny's Rovers, thank you as well, saying finally a Celtic, I'm assuming that's meant to say stream when I'm not working, but it's a European away game, should have just taken over to, or Celtic game when I'm not working, but it's a European away game, should have just taken the overtime when I had the chance. I feel that. Reminds me of back in the day when I was in Tesco. Right, that's the Celtic team. Before we get into the Q&A, I suppose we probably should look over the Feyenoord starting 11 because they are the opponents. It's who we take on tonight. As I mentioned in yesterday's match reaction, a very different looking Feyenoord side from what we came up against in 2023. In fact, in tonight's starting 11, I believe there is not one similarity in that team tonight. There's not one. Quinton Timber is on the bench. He was the only one still left, I think, in their last European starting 11 that was included against Celtic on the 13th of December 2023 when we beat them at Celtic Park. So it's a very, very different Feyenoord side. Wellenreuther in goals, a defence of Lotomba, Amadzovic, they've got some pronunciations in this team, haven't they? Watanabe and Smal, a midfield of Targaline, Stein, Valente, Haj Musa and Sauer, and up front it is Ueda, the informed goal scorer with 13 to his name across all competitions this season. They have got some names that are recognisable on the bench, as I've already mentioned. Quinton Timber on there, the goalkeeper Justin Bijelo, who hasn't been their first choice keeper for a while now because his wrists are made of fucking poppadoms. A couple of other names that you will notice, that's not Robin Van Persie putting himself on the bench, that is his son, Shaquille Van Persie. He is on the bench for Feyenoord tonight, the son of Feyenoord manager. I tell you, I was very chuffed to see the pre-match comments from Robin Van Persie because he is one of my favourite players of all time, and when he called Celtic a beautiful club, it brought a tear to my eye, I must say. Big fan of Robin Van Persie, not as much as a manager as he was a player, but yeah, Feyenoord not doing great at the minute. This is the 11 they go with. Yes, Ueda was part of the Feyenoord team back in 2023, but he didn't start that game, so he was on the bench. Apologies for any misinformation that you may have picked up along the way. That's the Feyenoord team. I don't watch Feyenoord every week, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to expect out of fucking Haj Musa on the right-hand side for them today. What matters is that Celtic team, and I think there's a lot of things to be kind of worried about. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I look at the defence, I see Donovan on the right-hand side, who hasn't covered himself in glory over his last couple of appearances. Not great. I look at the midfield, I look at Rio Hatate, who has been vacant, who has been non-existent in a Celtic jersey for weeks now. Doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. And I look at that front three, and I just think to myself, we have no hope. I hope that Dyson finds his form tonight. I'm not full of confidence about it. Yang, I've made my thoughts perfectly clear on the past, and yeah, McCowan playing in a role that he's not been all too familiar with at Celtic, which is unfortunate for him. We have 4 centre mids on the park this evening. It's going to be a weird one. The shape, I'd imagine, is going to look slightly different, but I see people talking about this maybe playing narrow or maybe going for a kind of 4-2-1-2-1 or whatever, and all these different fucking formations. I don't see much. I don't expect to see much of a change in shape. I just think that it's going to be typical Celtic 4-3-3, the way we've lined up for months and weeks under Martin O'Neill, I don't think there's going to be too much here. But what I hope Martin does do is drill into these players that Denmark was unacceptable, and tonight it's time to go out with a bang, a metaphorical and literal bang. His last ever European game in charge of Celtic. Like, this is it now for Martin. Like, you know, he's had some great European moments in his first tenure as Celtic manager. Of course, took us all the way to Seville. We don't need to go through all of that. How good would it be for us to remember Martin O'Neill as the guy that reignited hope into our campaign by picking up a huge win over one of the, you know, kind of premier teams of the competition? I know Feyenoord haven't been great this season, and maybe in this current moment they aren't one of the premier teams, but Feyenoord are former European Cup winners in their own right. They are one of, if not the biggest team in the Netherlands, and they're a household name. People know who Feyenoord are. So if we could go out in a win against them, I think that would be magic, and I hope that he's kind of got these players riled up for that. And of course, I mean, the fact of the matter is, Wilfried Nancy will be watching this. Like, he whether he's there in person, which I've not heard anything about, I don't expect to see him on the TV this evening. It doesn't sound like he'll be there. But he'll be watching, and you know, players should be playing for the new manager and showing what they've got to offer for the new manager. And don't get me wrong, I think there's at least 2 players in this starting 11 who don't even want to play for Nancy, who don't want to play for Celtic beyond January, and the 2 of them happen to be over on the left hand side of the graphic in Rio Hatate and Dyson Maeda. But nonetheless, you know, you've got a new manager coming in, you want to impress them, so go out there and play with that in the back of your mind tonight and just give us something different. So yeah, a lot of people saying that Martin O'Neill's lost the plot with his team selection tonight. Who knows? Maybe it will pay dividends. Am I full of any confidence towards that notion? No, absolutely not. So let's get into the chat. Let's hear all of your opinions. Some people completely losing it with the reaction to the starting 11s. I've got the first one here saying that I think this is possibly the worst starting 11 I've seen at Celtic. Grim is an understatement. I think I've seen worse. I definitely have seen worse. The starting 11 that was fielded against Real Betis in 2021 under Ange Postecoglou. That was what I know we won that night, but I think that I would say that's probably the worst starting 11 I've ever seen in a competitive game for Celtic, to be honest. But I mean, this is not far off it. This is bad, man. Like, we are kind of in the trenches right now when it comes to squad quality. But listen, we'll try and look at things a bit more positively. Mackenzie bringing up the reminder about 10,000 fans being banned tonight. Yes, if you're wondering why, Feyenoord had a suspended sentence in regards to pyrotechnic use, similar to how Celtic have had in Europe in recent years. And basically they were told if you violate it under the suspended sentence, you will suffer a stand closure. They had pyros in their game against Bayern Munich, I believe, in the Champions League not too long ago. Sorry, Europe. Was it when was it Bayern? I don't know actually now what game it was. They had pyro. Put it this way, they had pyro, and that was during their suspended sentence. So tonight is the game where they will have 10,000 locked out. It's a full stand closure. It's the stand that the ultras would typically sit in. There will be 10,000 empty seats in that stadium tonight. Rayan saying, hi Ryan, I think it could be 5 or 6 past this tonight. This squad is just not good enough. Seems to be the kind of feeling in the chat that we're going to get an absolute scudding tonight, and maybe that plays into us a little bit. But if you want to try and flip it, maybe the fact that we are going in expecting this means we'll get a pleasant surprise tonight. But I once again, I was there. You know, I was there in Midtjylland, or in Herring, I should say, and it was probably some of the worst European football I'd ever had to endure as a Celtic supporter. Like, it was really, really bad. So, you know, listen, have we set up in the sense to take a free hit to go through and kick on under Nancy? I don't know. Nobody has the answers to that question. Martin O'Neill wants to go out and win. I think that, I see it's obvious they're setting up for the weekend, and this game is just a bye. League probably the focus. I don't agree with that notion at all. Do you think that Martin O'Neill, on his last big game as Celtic manager, his last big hurrahs, went, do you know what, this is a bye, lads, go out there? No, Martin O'Neill's a constant professional. Martin O'Neill doesn't want to lose games. And see if we do get scudded tonight, wait, you see his face, the post-match press conference. I think it's a ridiculous notion to suggest that this is a bye for Celtic tonight. I really do. I don't think Martin O'Neill works like that. And his hands are tied behind his back with the squad he's got. No matter what 11 he fielded tonight, it was all going to look like, we're going to get scudded. The team's pish. Like, it's as simple as that. The team is pish. It has been since August. Since the minute the transfer window shut. We all knew this team wouldn't be good enough. The minute the draw was done, we looked at Feyenoord at the Cup, and I think we all took that breath in through the gaps in our teeth, going, I think we all thought the exact same thing. We're going to go to Holland and we're going to get fucking rattled. That was what I think we all thought. I don't think there's any part of Martin O'Neill who would set up for a deliberate bye this evening. I really don't. But if that's the way it plays out, so be it. That's how it is, but I just don't think Martin O'Neill wants to do that on his... And I mean, as Jackie suggested, we're all quick to say that, Martin O'Neill's maybe chucked it tonight, or he's lost his marbles, or whatever, as Jackie's saying. Maybe he knows what he's doing. Nobody looking at it like that. And just to combat, once again, the point, he's dropped Kenny for McCowan. Kenny's not set the world alight. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, he scored a couple of goals, and I'm happy about that, and I like to see him kick on, but he's hardly Erling bloody Haaland. He's scored a couple of goals. He's also missed a few outrageous sitters as well. So we're not blessed with quality in the final third, and if he wants to do something different, he's doing something different. So we'll wait and see. Love Curry on a Saturday night. What a username. Saying Feyenoord got beat 4-2 at the weekend off of NEC. It's not the same team we played years ago. Yep, I mentioned that yesterday. And listen, the Freelies are there to see in this Feyenoord. Feyenoord aren't great by any stretch. So once again, just to come back to the point, Martin O'Neill's chucked it tonight, or we're playing for a bye. Why would Martin O'Neill look at a team getting pumped in the league at the weekend and go, we may as well chuck it? They're there for the taking. This is the weakest you're probably going to find Feyenoord right now. That's just fact. So, if Martin O'Neill, I would be so fucking frustrated if Martin O'Neill was to look at that as a bie, and that's why I know he's not, because he's not as stupid as that. He's one of the greatest managers in this club's history for a reason, because he's a smart guy. I'm not saying that I agree with his team selection. I don't. I would have made changes myself, but if it works, then he deserves the praise for that, surely. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. Where's the positivity coming for then? I mean, listen, nobody really. It seems like if you went through this live chat right now, there ain't a lot of positivity in there. There's not, and I can't fault that. I can't. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I woke up this morning buzzing for tonight's game the way that I usually would for a European game. That's what it is. That's what it is. How do you go from Kun, Maeda and Jota scoring 50 goals between them on the wings to now having McCowan and Yang? I mean, listen, is there even a point in going through it? Because we've been through it a million times. This is where we are. It was the self-harm and the neglect that the Celtic board led us into. So, I'm see, when you woke up this morning, you seen their Green Friday sale adverts, just keep in mind, don't give the bastards a penny. Don't put anything into that club tomorrow in their Black or Green Friday sales, because, they can't be bothered bringing it to calling it Black Friday. I don't know. Just don't give them any money. Don't do it. Please, I beg you, don't do it. Patrick say a good point here. I like talking about the opposition a little bit in these streams. Patrick saying the biggest criticism of Feyenoord this season has been the severe lack of fitness. I think the game plan is to bring on good players at the end to try and capitalise on that. I mean, that would make sense when you look at the bench. A couple of the names that they do have on there. You're talking about Celtic still, though. They have good players on the bench. But for Celtic, yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, that's a good point. Maybe Martin O'Neill, the Celtic scouts, or the opposition scouting team, or the coaching staff have picked up on that. I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about Feyenoord's fitness, to be honest. But I mean, maybe it's an interesting theory. Maybe they're waiting, try and hold the game 0-0, 1 each, whatever it is. 20 minutes to go, bang, get your best players in the park, get Johnny Kenny on fit and firing, get a couple of other players on. Nigrid, whoever. It's not. I don't consider any of these better players. I'm trying to bullshit my way through it, to be quite honest. But no, it's an interesting point. If that's been said about Feyenoord, I appreciate you pulling that in. Thank you for that. James also saying that Feyenoord play a really high line or front three, has pace and running power, and Martin O'Neill we trust. I would agree with the pace point, but pace. Listen, I'm trying to sway away from all the negative comments because I don't want to be too negative, right? Pace doesn't mean an awful lot when there's no quality on the end of it. And I'm so sorry to say this, but Dyson Maeda has been a man down this season. He has been. To the point where I'm completely fine with him going in January. I don't have any fucking desire to see him play beyond here at January. I just don't have any desire for it. The pace point is obviously very interesting when teams play a high line, but if you have Maeda blottering the ball into that empty stand, or Yang falling over his own feet, then it really doesn't matter. And both of them are just You know, just the both of them right now are so out of form and just so inconsistent, where it just makes me think, well, you know, does it really matter? Does it really matter about pace and getting in behind the high lines? Because I don't have any faith that Maeda or Yang are going to change the game once they get in behind those high lines. But hey, as I said, we'll try and sway away from the negatives for now. We'll try and swear away from them. McCowan hat-trick, all bicycle kick, says Whiskey Mikey. You've had too much whiskey tonight, Mikey. Put the whiskey down. Put it down right now. It must be 4-5-1 with McCowan on the right and Yang on the left, Dyson up front. I mean 4-3-3 and 4-5-1 are effectively the same formations in modern football. Like, you look at the average positioning of each player and it just kind of turns into a mishmash of both anyway. It's not like it's FIFA and we're sitting picking exact formations for players to drop into. Maeda's always been a rotten player. He should have been sold after the 22-23 season after he missed the open goal against Madrid. Listen, I wouldn't trade last season's Maeda for anything, to be fair. What a season he had, but he's been fucking mince this year. He's went back to being the player where he's just an anomaly of a guy. Like, you see him do the most marvellous thing and then he turns into, you know, a competition winner in the next phase of play. That's just Maeda. That's always been him, bar last season where he arguably went through the world's longest purple patch. Could a win be the kick-on we need? I think the kick-on that we need isn't anything to do with tonight's result, in my opinion. The kick-on that we need is the new manager coming in. Like, I don't think tonight's result means fuck all, to be honest. I don't think it kicks on anything. And do you know what fucking scares me? Is even if this was the result to kick on from tonight, why should we be kicking on with this squad? This squad is terrible. I don't care if they went and won 4-0 tonight. It wouldn't change my opinions of how many of them need to go and how many we need to improve on. I think the real kick-on point is the new manager coming in and getting going from there. And that's not to discredit anything that Martin O'Neill's done or anything he could do in his last two games. If he gets a win tonight, that's huge. But for me, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I don't think tonight, even if we win, is one to go, let's kick on from this. No, we have so much work to do before we can even consider kicking on, in my opinion. That's just my own belief. I'm not saying that everybody has to adhere to that. If you want to kick on from tonight, and fair play. But yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do in this squad before we seriously talk about kicking on. And there you go. As Stuart said, we've been talking about kicking on all season. You know what? How many results have we got? And then we've went, oh, here we go, we kick on. I mean, let's go back to Sturm Graz. One of Rodgers' last games in charge. I think, what was his second last game? Beat Sturm Graz. Oh, let's kick on. Beat the following weekend. The manager leaves. I think this season's about stumbling over the finishing line, to be quite honest. But hey, listen, that's what it is. Do you think the board will announce Nancy tonight if we get battered? Not tonight, tomorrow. I think whatever happens tonight, Nancy will get announced tomorrow, to be quite honest. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. I've got the thumbnail ready to go for the announcement. Like, I've got the thumbnail ready. As soon as Celtic drop it, bang! I'll be live, we'll be here, and I've got it ready. I would be stunned if he's not announced as Celtic manager tomorrow. Especially if this ends in defeat, you know. Especially if this ends in defeat. But we'll wait and see. This lineup tells its own story. We've given up on Europe and saving our best till Sunday. But see, I once again, I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, because even what is our best? Like, we play our best is this, bar a couple of players at the minute. I think people are forgetting that, like, Johnston, Vickers, Jota and all the rest of it are, like, unavailable for months. Like, our best is only a couple of players off this tonight. There's not an awful lot of changes to Celtic's best on Sunday. So that's why I don't necessarily agree with the whole, he's chucked it tonight. That's that. And who knows, maybe after the game he'll come out and say, oh, Kenny was feeling tight in his calf or something. You know, no, that would probably be it. So I don't agree with it, to be honest. I just think that our best isn't much better. Ranny's looking for a bet builder in the chat. Somebody go help him out. I can't endorse the gambling. Well, I can, but I'm choosing not to on this occasion. Yang's bird is better than Yang, says Ewan. Yep, that's probably the case. What even is our best at this point? A 4-0 win against Falkirk. Exactly. Exactly. What is Celtic's best this season? It's a calamitous situation to be in, and I think even if we get battered tonight, I think my match reaction will just be me sitting like this. I don't even think I'm going to say anything. I don't think I'll say anything if we get battered. But here, listen. Let's get the win. Do I think Kenny needs a shout? What a question from Martin. This is why I do these streams. The real questions. The real questions. You know, not asking about the technicalities of players being dropped and all the rest of it. Just, do they need a shout? Kieran McLeish talking about Nygren being dropped tonight says, I've never known a player like Nygren who can be so quality and so shite at the same time. He's a nuts player. I still believe in my heart of hearts, deep down, that Nygren will turn out to be a quality player for this club, and I don't know why. Because sometimes I watch him and I go, that man's a donkey. But there's just something about him that I think when it clicks, it will click. But at the same time, yeah, he's had some moments in some games where he's looked like technically one of the worst football players I've ever seen. He's a bizarre player. He's a bizarre player, to be fair. So we'll wait and see. Nygren shit on the wing, says Martin. Good summary of it all. Casper in goals, 3 for Feyenoord. This will be a Thanksgiving miracle if we get a result tonight, Ryan. Yep, it will be. Everybody say your grace before meals. I'll be having my dinner. As I'm watching the game tonight, and I think I'll be saying many prayers to the big man. Pleasure to meet you too, Tom and Herring. I'm glad to see you popping in the stream. God bless, sir. It was a pleasure meeting you too. Do I think we'll ever see a Rodgers pipe bomb towards the board? That's a conversation for another day and another stream, but I think eventually we will hear Brendan Rodgers speak about everything that happened. So many people always bring it up that, why is he no spoke yet? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Probably because he's speaking to a lawyer. If I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd be getting the best lawyer. I'd be going to Saul Goodman, suing Desmond for every bastard and penny he's got. I'd be holding my wish as well. But listen, completely different conversation for a different time. Look, the Nook with a hat trick, says Alan. I mean, I would love it. I would absolutely love it if he scored a hat trick today. I'll take a hat trick off anybody. I'll take a hat trick off bloody Austin Trusty if I need to. I love Austin Trusty. He's one of my favourite players in the team, which says a lot about this current team. But ho-hum. Right, let's get a few more before I wrap up. We have over 800 live viewers, by the way. So thank you for that, first and foremost. If you haven't, please go down below, hit like, hit subscribe. Remember, the match reaction will be live as soon as possible after the conclusion of tonight's game in Rotterdam. But I'll take a few more questions before we wrap things up, and we'll go from there. I can't believe you, Ryan, asking people not to purchase merchandise. You're not a proper fan of Celtic FC. Grow up and stop your whinging. Everyone's AFA negative. I've got a bit of hope. I appreciate that, Jackie. We need somebody like yourself in the chat to keep some form of positivity going, you know. Do you know what doesn't help? Totally unrelated to Celtic, as long as I have Celtic control the weather. But it doesn't help when you look outside and it's just bleak and miserable. Like, I'm not feeling hyped at all for tonight's game because of the outside conditions. Doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. Scores prediction and don't shite out of it. It's probably I'm seeing a lot of score predictions flying in the chat. My score prediction, honestly, like I hate doing this. I hate it because when you know you're under the cosh and when you know you're not the favourites, you have to be kind of honest about things. I want to say in my heart we can keep the game close. I want to, just because Feyenoord haven't been great this season. But I'm really worried that if they get one, the game just gets away from us and we start to do what we've done in Denmark and we go into our shell and we hide. I wouldn't be shocked if this is another kind of 3 or 4 goal affair to the opposition. I really wouldn't be. I just think that there's every chance of that. But I'll go with. Do you know what? I'll stick. Do you know what? 2-1. I'll say 2-1 Feyenoord. It's the shite bag answer, and that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting. So like it or lump it. Actually, I'll be ready to switch right over to the NFL Thanksgiving games when they're done. In fact, I'm giving up Detroit and Green Bay for this. You know, what a game there tonight. Feyenoord 3-1, says Mackenzie. Helen says she'll take a 1-0 win for Celtic. I'd be buzzing with that. As I said, if we win tonight, I'll be on here scancing the air, twirling them, you know. Braz flying. But aye. Anyway, right. I'm going to wrap it up there for this evening, and we're going to get on with this. We're going to get on with this hard and long battle against Feyenoord this evening. We can do it, can't we? Let's do it, guys. God, kill me. Right, take care of yourself. I'll see you after the match. Thank you for all your questions.